This is the Avoca Vale Homestead, which gave name to the locality here, Avoca Vale. Avoca Vale is actually a place in Ireland where two rivers meet, and the poet Thomas Moore wrote a song called The Meeting of the Waters. Now, the Queensland version of that is the location where the Brisbane River meets Cooyar Creek.
So we're on Rathburnie, which was the property originally owned by Graham Burnett and his brother, and then later by Graham and Vale. On this property, the Burnetts were early practitioners of regenerative farming. They were quite passionate about that. Sadly, Graham died, but Vale continued his legacy and ensured that the principles that he was so clear about were continued. After Valmay's death, the property was bequeathed to WWF. Prior to that, it was classified as a nature reserve under Queensland legislation. It's a beautiful place on the Brisbane River.
This is Camp Duckadang, which was built in 1979. It was built by the Lions and operated by the Lions, and still is. And it was built on land donated by the Burnett families on the Rathburnie estate that we just walked through. So a very popular spot, well equipped and used for a lot of youth camps. It has dormitories, a big kitchen, a beautiful waterhole for canoeing on the other side here. The name Duckadang was given in tribute of an Aboriginal elder, and it's actually the first non-agricultural operation that we've come across in our journey down the river. Try this, Joe. It's fantastic. Oh, it's so good. You just tell me what you got.
No, I'm intrigued by the looks of it. An old one. Don't know where it's come from. But they're furry. And then they'll dry, split open, and the actual almond will be inside that.
It's just by the river. May have been washed down.
Yeah, I don't know whether somebody's had an old camp or homestead.
Could be in a homestead. We did find a lemon tree last time we were walking down just a bit further up here.
That's... Yeah, books, I just never get around to doing it.
Can you tell us about the history of Linville, Sandra?
Basically started to be settled about 1897. There were properties there, but that's when it started to be broken up. It had been part of Collington Station, I believe. The sawmills played a big part in the town. Tremendous amount of timber came in from the mountains north of here and was loaded onto the train. The train started in 1911. It was the biggest railhead in southern Queensland in the early days, and there were a lot of people employed in those industries, the timber and the farms. The cattle used to be driven from the head of the river down, and then they would be put on the train here and taken to Cannon Hill or somewhere in Brisbane for sale. Yeah. It was in the 80s, I think, when it closed, the last train. Yeah, I do have a photo, yeah. So that really detracted from the town. I think it started to go backwards after that for a long, long time, but now the rail trail seems to have given it such a rejuvenation. You know, it's really come back. Yeah. House prices have gone up quite considerably, and people are doing up the houses that are here, you know. And the hotel's become the hub. It's been rejuvenated wonderfully. It's good to see that the town has got some life again. Well, my great-grandparents bought the property, started buying the property in 1897, and the family's been here ever since.
And for as long as your family has lived here, which is 120 years, how has the river changed?
From the 80s, this river has never been the same. Blackbutt Creek had water in it up until then, ever since we know from family history in the 1890s, and now it very rarely has water in it. It's changed a lot. The water used to be so much deeper all the way down the river. It keeps drying back now so much more than ever. It was a hole like this pretty well all the way down the property, but as you'll see from some of the photos, it's not the case. It was full of mullet. In the early days, they used to net them, or they'd just catch them on line. As soon as the silky oak trees used to come out and flower, my grandmother used to walk over and go mullet fishing. They'd use moss rolled up on a hook, and that's what they used to catch them with. In the 70s, when they built Wivenhoe, they didn't put a fish ladder up, and now there are no mullet left in the river, and I think that's really, really sad.
What's your favourite memory of this place?
I think just this, to be able to come down and sit on the bank of the river. It's just nice to say that property is still there, how you remember it to a certain extent, you know, and we pass that history on, I guess, to our kids, and hopefully they'll remember it. Yeah.